Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
Welcome back, dear listeners, to another episode of Word Docs. I'm Dr. Sean Williams, here with my wonderful friends, Dr. Amy Matthews.
Hey.
And Dr. Alex Vickery-Howe.
Hello.
Oh,
You're getting more like a DJ every week.
I'm working on lowering my larynx so I'm more imposing.
How do you do that?
oh, how far?
Right down to that kind of bass. Caiaphas from Jesus Christ Superstar.
I am your father.
James Earl Jones.
All about the bass.
I could do this in post by slowing down all. Anyway, this week we're here to talk about... I've forgotten. No, we're talking about teaching online because that has been a very important issue for this year.
Was it as polished as this when you guys taught online this year?
Oh.
Is this recording? Is this working?
Far less polished. More polished. I don't know.
It's just an hour of me trying to lower my larynx. Hello, children. I think they take me more seriously. If I'm sterner, I'm more serious. It's like, welcome to Drama 1001. I'm here to tell you about William Shakespeare, Bertolt Brecht. I mean, you'd believe that guy, wouldn't you? As opposed to, hey guys, okay team.
How you doing? We got some plays here.
It has been a kind of, I wouldn't say schmozzle, but it was very sudden. I remember it was sometime in March, around about the 20th, I think. And that morning I said to a colleague, do you think we should start thinking about online teaching? And then that afternoon we were all sent home about 3:00.
But that was for a separate matter. That was just because you were playing up on it.
That was just me. No, and then suddenly you had to wrestle with all this new technology. You had to, completely rethink how the curriculum would be delivered. And it was kind of trial and error and a bit random for a while there. But I secretly enjoy it now.
Not so secretly enjoy it.
Well, not when you say it on a podcast. But I tell you, I enjoy it for the selfish reason that I'm more productive as a researcher if, I can sit in my dressing gown and work from home.
It's a lot of travel time and stuff you catch up on. Like, you've got another couple of hours a day, really.
You've got another couple of hours a day. And when I'm at uni, I'm terrible. I go to Gorav's van and have a cup of coffee that then becomes a second and a third. And I just kind of hang out.
I was in there last week, and what I noticed is people constantly knocking on my door, and I end up sitting and chatting or going for a coffee or doesn't happen at home. No one wants to talk to me.
If it's just 3 people, right? Like, if 3 people will end up being possibly 3 hours of your day. So there's that. But the other thing that I really like about online teaching, which I don't think anyone has mentioned in any of the forums or feedback sessions or how to teach online things that we've done, is that students who were struggling, who, in fact, some that I had failed in the past, are shining in the online environment because they're natural introverts. They're natural introverts.
Yeah, right.
And now they can ask questions and they can engage.
They can communicate in the chat feature and so on. Yeah.
So can we maybe structure this? Because I have not done it yet. So when we're recording this, it's the week before semester 2 starts. And I'm going to be starting online teaching for the first time because I was on study leave. So can I pick your brains?
Let's give her bad advice, Sean.
Yeah.
Let's just throw her right off.
As if you weren't going to anyway, Alex. So semester 1, because Sean, you're fairly new to the university. You've been around for 2 years now?
A year and a half. I had just long enough to feel like I was getting a handle on how to teach the normal way and was told not to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's been a constant learning exercise for me, which has been fun and really stimulating, but also a bit unnerving.
So the kinds of courses you're teaching are like traditional, but then also workshop courses where people swap work. And Alex, are you doing any acting or anything?
Not so much, but even within the kind of theoretical side of drama, we used to get them up doing scenes and exercises just to break up the lectures. So there's a lot of stuff we can no longer do.
So how do you do your lectures then? Because I know what I've chosen to do and I'm a little bit anxious that it won't work. So I would love to know how you guys set up your topics.
Well, Sean and I are doing it slightly differently. Sean, you were saying that you're going to record your lectures live.
Yeah, so I've decided that on Monday mornings I'll have 1 hour where I'll just be in a sort of a collaborate chat room where anybody can come along and ask questions about the previous week. And then after an hour of that, I'll record the lecture live. And anybody, again, who wants to be present during that recording can be. And there'll probably be opportunities to ask questions and whatnot. And then later in the week, I'll have another collaborate session which is the compulsory workshop seminar. So that will give people who didn't attend that lecture that I recorded on Monday time to watch the recording. And then we'll all do exercises, all have discussions on that topic. That's my plan. I may break the lecture into a couple of chunks, but I'm afraid that because I'm teaching editing and publishing this semester, I'm afraid that if I put up a chunk that says, here's how to use commas, nobody's going to watch that lecture.
Then you can penalise them when you mark their work. Did you watch the comma thing?
But I'll still have to grade all their work that doesn't have commas. I think I need to sneak in grammar by stealth. So what's your variation on this, Alex? What have you settled on?
So I've seen it done both ways. I was doing a second year course in first semester that was quite dense in terms of theory, and it actually took a bit of a pressure off me to go, okay, I'll pre-record these, because what I found, and this is, self-criticism, when I'm lecturing in person, particularly with a group of like 120 drama students, we can get very sidetracked very quickly and try and steer it back to what we're supposed to be talking about. So what I've been doing with this is pre-recording lectures with either a lot of coffee or a glass of Moscato, or a couple.
Or both.
Or both. It's switching between the two. And I have found that I believe, more coherent because I'm not being so easily distracted, and I'm really relaxed because there's no pressure when, I can always stop it and record again. So I think I've been clearer as a lecturer than I've been in a long time, and that was the feedback from the second years. So, but I also, of course, have tutorials with them as well because all the drama topics have tutes. This semester, I'm still doing the lectures online, but I'm doing 2 online tutes and 2 face-to-face tutes because the drama students, it's such a diverse group of people. The education majors are quite happy to be online because a lot of them they're not in Adelaide anymore. They've gone to Port Pirie or Port Wollonga. Yeah. Well, no, that's not that far. Port Lincoln, that's far. Whyalla, Mount Gambier, places like that. So they're quite happy to be online. And a lot of them, as I said, are introverts who are probably getting better marks than they have. Whereas the performance majors and the design majors have to be on campus anyway. And so I thought, well, okay, I'll come in to talk to them and I'll do the others online. So I said to the whole cohort, make your choice now, depending on what your preference is. And we'll see how that works. It'll be interesting. I think the big lesson for me has been, and this is a kind of COVID lesson in general, I think introverts have thrived in this period. And I think extroverts have really struggled, including people I work with, friends, my family, members of my family, people who really crave human connection as regularly, find this quite distressing. Whereas people like myself and a lot of the students, Sean definitely, we're quite happy to be in our little caves. We come out every now and then and we are sociable people.
Blinking into the light.
You've got to lure Sean out with chocolate. That's how you get him out. So come on, let's go. I think it's been an interesting lesson in that because it's okay to be introverted, and I think a lot of people are rediscovering that is actually okay and can be productive as well.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking, Amy? What are your thoughts on how you might teach this semester?
Well, I had to...
Because sorry to cut across you, having asked you a question now, I'm going to flatten your response back down into silence like a steamroller. I taught your topic, Approaches to Creative Writing, what's it called? Love and Death in Outer Space.
Sex and Death in Outer Space. We're changing the title next year, which is why you're saying it's Love and Death next year.
Phew, it wasn't just that I've got incompetent memory. So we used your recorded lectures in first semester, and then I had a seminar and a workshop that we did live on Collaborate. And your lectures, you're very conversational with the students. There's a lot of sort of call and response. Yeah. You're saying, what do you think of this? And they respond and they ask questions, and it's a wonderful conversation. conversation. It's a harder thing to accomplish online in something like Collaborate.
Yeah, I was actually really anxious about it because my whole teaching style is set up around those very Socratic lectures, and I love the lecture space. So I'll have a room full of between 60 and 120 people, which sounds like it wouldn't work, but it actually works beautifully because the more people there are in the room, the more anonymous they feel. So the introverts actually thrive better in a big room than a small room because they can kind of be anonymous and speak, or not speak at all and just listen to the conversation. But that 2-hour block is like a mix of everything, like me giving little lecture snippets, stuff that workshop exercises, sort of seminar using the whiteboard a lot. And it's worked really well for the last few years, and it's really popular with the students. So I have all this material, and because we're changing our curriculum next year, I didn't want to rewrite the whole curriculum for one semester.
Why not?
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
So it's like, well, I've got these big blocks of things to do, but I'm not sure how to do it. And I also don't want to turn this into, like, take up 100% of my time because I've got 2 books to write, rewriting it all. And so just sort of thinking about how the hell you make it a topic that would be interesting for everyone, that still delivers a lot of that, but without the same kind of interaction. Because I haven't used any of the systems yet. So it'd be my first time on Collaborate, my first time recording things. And I thought it'd be a train wreck if I tried to do that same thing. Like, I think you actually need to be a little bit tech savvy to do that big 2-hour thing, and maybe by next year I'll be there. So I thought what I might do is try and break it down into a kind of curated collection of stuff. So I'm doing historical fiction. So I've got this massive reading list that they're not expected to read everything, but it's curated into topics and they're supposed to follow their interests a little bit. And then I've broken down, I'm starting to record lectures in like little 15-minute videos on topics, so that the idea is they can build their learning experience out of all of these bits, and each person may choose to build it slightly differently depending on what they're interested in. So we cover topics like recovering stories, like hidden stories in history, like whether it's African American stories or women's stories, or we look at colonial stories, both the Western and Australian colonial history. We look at things like the reader-writer contract, with things like historical fiction, with the Holocaust fiction and the ethics of fictionalizing trauma stories. And essentially they can go down rabbit holes. I've set up all these readings and videos, and then I was like, well, you can't leave them completely on their own. So I've got their 1-hour Collaborate session. So all the things added up, they can add it up to their 135 hours or whatever it is that they need to spend. And that 1 hour a week is like an access point, but I don't know how that's going to go because there's so many of them and there's only one of me. So I thought I'm just going to play it by ear. I've got for the first 2 weeks, some slides that as discussion prompts in case no one says anything, but I don't know how that's going to go. So how did they go for you?
I actually put them on notice in my introduction lecture that I recorded a couple of days ago, where I really said to them, there's nothing worse than that silence after you throw it out to them. And so I said, I'm watching that like a hawk this semester, and I'm not inclined to save you anymore, because I had a teacher who would let that silence hang.
Yeah, me
who would
too.
just let it hang. And I've never done it. I've always jumped in to save them. And so I said, this semester I will wait. My instinct is to try and fill those gaps, but I'm gonna let it hang, because I expect you to come to those classes, whether they're online or not, with something to share, a thought, a question, an idea. And so we'll see how that goes. But it's always the same 1 or 2 students that jump in, and I'm a little bit sort of sick of that.
Because, this model of teaching was designed for not this many students, right?
That's true.
It was the idea that you'd have a tutor and you'd meet them weekly and you'd do your reading and you'd talk and you'd write papers. Like, I even remember doing history back in the early 90s, and you'd be in a tutor, 6 people, you'd sit in your tutor's office and you'd have to bring a paper every 2 weeks and read your paper to the group, and everyone would comment on it. And so 3 of you would do it. We can't do that anymore.
The tute sizes, and I don't care who this offends, the tute sizes are way too big and have been for the last couple of years, and they have made certain courses unmanageable.
But that is sector-wide around the world. That's not just us. That's everywhere. And we're actually really good. Like, when I came to Flinders, they would be like, our class size is really big. It's like, are you kidding me? This is tiny. This is like a third of everywhere else. So we're still pretty good in the ratio, but I think it's just that you have to completely rethink teaching, right? So maybe the face-to-face thing will be different. So I thought, well, I can't have them talking with me so much. So I've set worksheets workshop exercises that they have to upload each week, and they're not graded at all. And I'm not, I don't have the capacity to read them all every week either, but I can dip in and out and give generalized kind of commentary and feedback, but get them writing every week and uploading every week, and this idea of a kind of interaction that way, maybe.
And the online, the message boards as well are really useful. I've also, I did this a bit last semester, and I'm going to get worse. I'm planting tricks and traps for them a little bit.
Be warned, students, be warned.
I will only mention, be warned, be afraid. I'll only mention an activity in one of the online lectures to see if they're paying attention.
Oh, I do that. No, I do that. And I give them, I actually have already done a couple of videos for the assignments with all the tips they need to really ace the assignments. And you can tell who watches them, right? I know who's been to the lectures when I've given handy hints.
Of course, we can track the people who are coming and going.
We can see.
Everything's online. We don't need to hand out attendance sheets that people do fake signatures on. We can tell when they've logged on.
I love when they think you don't know.
I know.
And it's like you want to say to them, if you're listening to this, students, we know all your tricks. We're just pretending we don't know.
We use them.
Because, I know. You want to say, we were students. Like, we did students. All these things.
I actually, in a lecture once, I lost it with them and just went, I am not a high school teacher, so I'm not going to tell you off, but please don't think I'm so stupid that I don't know what's going on here. For example, I know that the back row is watching WWE on their laptops. I had someone looking up porn in a lecture theatre, and I was like, just wait.
Ew.
Oh my God. Have you seen the one online? Got to put this on our socials because it's so amazing. I can't remember where it is now, but it's a law professor, and she's standing up the front, and all of a sudden she just starts laughing and go, oh my God. And she's like, I can't believe you're doing this. And she starts talking. She's like, at least if you're going to get a hand job.
Oh no.
Don't just put the blanket in your lap, like the jacket in your lap. Like, I can see everything you're doing.
Wow.
And everyone's laughing, and she's like, this isn't even the first time it's happened. And it's just like, if they knew, like, we can tell when you're looking on Facebook. Like, we know.
Yeah.
I don't really care to comment because, to be honest, you're an adult. You're paying a hell of a lot of money to sit there and look at Facebook. You're paying a lot of money to not watch my videos. I actually don't care. You're an adult. But don't, like, act like you're trying to pull one out. Who cares?
It's also when students apologise for missing things, which on the surface is a nice thing to do, but I just go, this is not about pleasing me. I'm here. You have paid for a service. I'm delivering that service. If you don't come, you don't have to apologise to me. You're just not going to pass. And I compare it to like getting a driver's license, right? If you don't clock car time, if you don't do those hours, we will not give you a driver's license. We're not going to be upset about that. We're just not letting you drive because that'll be terrifying. And it's the same here. I go, we're not going to give you a degree, but that's not punitive. That's not personal. You're just not going to get a degree.
Yeah. No, and in fact, you often really like them. I remember a friend of mine, we were at Writers Week actually, and she met up with some friends and they wouldn't come over and join us. And she came back and she went, I won't say the woman's name, but she was like, that person was in one of your tutes in English 1 9 years ago. And she doesn't want to come over because she's really embarrassed because she never turned up to class after week 4 and she didn't submit any assignments. And I'm like, I don't, like, this is not awful, but I don't remember her.
No.
I've not been sitting around for 10 years thinking, that person X who did stop coming to class, because there are hundreds of them and some of them come back and do really well and they have really complicated lives and work and children and illnesses and we're all so compassionate. Like, my first response is there's probably something going on that they're not coming. Like, maybe they have anxiety, I want to do everything I can to make sure that you're engaged and that you pass, but I'm never sitting here thinking, damn you for not doing that.
No, never. And I've had students that have failed and come back a year later and they've been amazing. And I've never asked, but you can tell they've gone out into the world and come back different.
And I've had students who are homeless.
Well, during COVID even.
Yeah, who are going through the ringer, and you just think, well, you are an adult. It's a service you're paying for. I'm here to help you. And the frustration we feel is more, don't put me in this position of being like your parent by sitting there looking at Facebook and acting like a brat.
Exactly. Don't play a player. I had, one from the drama centre go, our lives are so stressful. And I went, your lives are, I used to be one of you. I know what your hours are. And you know what? I had stricter teachers than you do.
And even the ones from different life pathways. I always remember this woman saying, you don't know what it's like. I have children, and at the time it's like I had a 12-week-old and a 2-year-old, and I hadn't slept for 4 years, and it's like I'm here at 8 a.m. like,
yeah. I had one though, really sweet student. I won't name her, but I often say in the first lecture, I don't care what you feel, I care what you can prove, and then I have to like qualify that by going as an educator, not as a human being.
I totally care who you are as a person. Yeah.
But in an essay, I don't really want I feel, which tends to be a drama thing. They tend to come from a feelings place. And so this student who is absolutely lovely, now almost every email starts with, I know you don't care, but. And I had to write back and go, I do care. Don't think it's like, I didn't mean that in the most horrendous way possible.
It's funny watching us because we're all policing ourselves, because it's like you want to go, I know you're on Facebook. It's like, but it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. Still keep coming. We want you to be engaged.
The other thing I do, which I was going to mention before, is if I'm feeling really cheeky and I know no one's read a play, I have stood in the lecture theatre and gone, and of course the scene with the magic unicorn is really deeply moving, just to see if anyone will take me up. And they do. They go, yeah, that's a really interesting design challenge. And I go, oh, you idiots. You know,
I love the blank face. Like there's one big book I teach that I'm teaching this semester, like it's really long. And I often will mention stuff near the end. You just get a sea of like carefully blank faces. It's like, I know you haven't read it. It's fine.
So forming that close connection between us and our students is a really rewarding aspect of our job. You know, even the ones who are problematic, we kind of know where it's coming from usually. And there's a certain bonhomie to watching somebody try it on, even if they're young and hopeless at it.
And you do kind of love them.
I wasn't a great student. I was a really cheeky, subversive
I
student.
used to hand things in at the last minute.
So how are we going to maintain these relationships in an online environment?
That's a big one. I don't know, because my mum made a joke actually recently, because I've been teaching for so long now, like nearly 20 years, and I'm from Adelaide and I've lived in Adelaide forever. So you see them everywhere, your ex-students. And she's just like, oh my God, it's like a cult. Because it's like, we went out to dinner to an Italian restaurant and the waitress was like, Amy, and she gave me this big hug. And I was like, oh, it's ex-student. And then we'll go to Target and someone's a current student or a 2 years out student, or they're everywhere. My mum's like, it's some kind of cult. And she's like, why do they all like you so much? I'm like, well, that's nice, isn't it? Why do you think they like me so much?
Otherwise, they'd be poisoning you at the restaurant, so that wouldn't be good.
Well, they don't come say hello.
Yeah, they just hide.
But generally, I can only think in 20 years, maybe 2 or 3 students I think who've actively disliked me. Most people I get along great with.
It's funny because I often get along quite well with the incorrigible ones and end up becoming quite friendly with them after they've graduated. Like, in the industry, then we might work together.
Alex's band of incorrigibles.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. You go, you were diabolical, but...
Some of my most troublesome students who just clearly were young or were not, had stuff going, I don't know, or just didn't have the maturity to study, have gone on to be the most successful people.
Yeah.
They really got stuff out of their degree, even though that at the time I was like, are you ever going to hand that in? Are you ever going to engage? But it filters in. And I think we all know that. Like, none of us expect perfection from our students. We just hoping it's filtering in somewhere.
As long as they'll stop using semicolons in my courses, I'll be happy.
He hates semicolons. He hates them.
I love semicolons.
I had a student that used to say to me, I know the essay wasn't very good. This is before I got it. She'd come up, that essay is really bad, but I want you to know that I learned. Like, this isn't going to save you at all. Saying I learned is not going to help you.
But they're often the ones who hand in the high distinction essays, the ones who are worried about it.
Yeah, almost always, actually.
The ones who email you and say, I really want to know how to improve my grade. I've never got a score this low before. And you look up their grade and they got 77. And you're thinking,
I gave someone 94. Yeah. 94. And I got that email. And I went, what do you want from me? You're first year. It's first semester. And I made one critical comment to justify 94. And that critical comment obviously kept her away.
I give a talk for first years about grades are different at uni. Like, you're used to this kind of level. You've got to think of it. You've gone to the next rung on the ladder and you're starting in a lower place again. And it's like fitness or something, right? Like, you've gone to the next class that's harder. Or you've put on the heavier weights now and you're not going to be able to lift as quickly as you did before. And you have to talk to them about it, because at school often the really smart ones are used to just getting the highest grades that we don't really award that often.
I'm still learning about all the things you're supposed to say to first first years to ease their transition into tertiary learning.
Yeah, it's a hard year. It's a really hard year.
I just say, look, it's not high school. It's a different thing. And I also make the point that we're not high school teachers for all of the reasons we've kind of listed. And I also say, look, because I don't know if it's true with the sort of teaching you're doing, but drama students are it's a generalization, but they're very emotional and very quick to share very deep personal issues.
My creative writing students will do it too, in their writing too.
Well, it comes out in their writing. Yeah, that's a good point. So I've said there's an invisible, like a plexiglass wall between us, and I will do everything I can to support you, but I am not a mental health professional, and I will not carry the weight of some of the things you're sharing. If I did say if it's a choice between being silent and sharing with me, then by all means share with me rather than bottle things up. But one of the first things I'm going to say is you have to talk to health and counselling, and that is something I've developed with first years, and I've become much clearer about stating that early, because in the past I've had people ring me, I've had someone email me every hour on the hour, ring me, and it got weird.
Yeah, see, I think I've always had to be very careful as a woman about that. Like when I was younger, for sexual reasons, like people trying to hit on you.
Yeah.
But then as I got older too, they want to treat you like a mum as well.
Yeah.
And in fact, I had another experience. I was at the pub, and this student I taught came up and we're chatting, and then her friend was there, and she's like, oh, he's too embarrassed to come and talk to you. And I was like, oh, why did I teach him to? And she's like, yeah, you probably remember him. He remembers it really clearly, and he's really humiliated. And he'd apparently, in a first year shoot, you know when you accidentally brain slips, and he called me mum? He was like, hey, mum.
That's lovely and terrifying.
And I was like, oh, I actually remember that. And then I went over to chat to him, and he was blushing, and I was like, just don't worry about it, because I don't care.
That's really funny. Yeah, but I think it's important to keep that line, because I don't. There are some teachers that actually enjoy.
Yeah.
They want to be a mother or father figure, and I don't.
No.
I don't track with
Not
that.
until you've graduated. We might be friends. Like that might be happen
absolutely.
if we met at the pub and we were chatting. That might happen.
Yeah.
But
I got a lovely email from an ex-student who said, "Can we be friends now?" And I went, "Yes, now we can." It's a year later.
I had a beautiful email years ago from this lovely guy, and I'm not going to name him, but I remember him really clearly. So I was probably only a few years into teaching, and I was quite young, and I think it was the very first year that I'd coordinated a topic, and I wrote the topic, and it was a big first year creative writing topic. Wow. And this guy was so lovely and charming, and but also, you know, a little bit lazy in class, but he was memorable because in the lecture theatre, every lecture he'd be sitting next to a different attractive woman trying to chat her up. And I'd be like, you're just like a pest. Like, how do I shut that down?
Wow,
so I put him
that's
in a
not
writing
good.
group. They had to do workshopping. I put him in a group with all dudes. Like, I'm not going to let you hit on girls in my class.
So blatant, though.
But then he was a very charming guy, and he was in a lot of other classes, and he learned his lesson after first year, right? Stopped doing it.
Good.
But then years and years later, I got an email, and it was addressed to me and 3 other lecturers. And he's like, I'm just writing to you all because I'm now a high school teacher.
Oh.
And I look back, and you 3 were such good teachers, and you taught me so much, and there's things that you did that I do today, and I didn't know at the time you were a good teacher. Like, it didn't even occur to me that you were good at this, and I just wanted to reach out and say I think of you every day in class, and thank you. And I've never got anything that made me cry before, and that email made me cry. I was just like, And I think back to my lecturers, and I think of them for 10 years after I graduated, and 20 years, 30 years. I'm very old now, but, you know, I still think about my lecturers that were good. I still remember their names.
Yeah, and I'm still in touch with a lot of them, and they really enjoy these stories because they go, oh, karma.
Of course you were a brat. Of course
you're getting
you were.
it all, Alex. Are they sending you long emails? Are they demanding meetings? Yes, karma.
Yeah, see, I got karma too because I never spoke. I was so shy. I was silent. So the silent lectures, that's karma.
Wow.
I was the kind of student who obeyed the instructions of the assignment to the letter while doing my absolute utmost to do the strangest thing I could possibly imagine. So my wonderful music composition lecturer, Jeffrey Moon, Dean, who's no longer with us anymore. See, I'm so old, Amy, that my lecturers are dead. He kept saying, I feel like I shouldn't pass this, but you've technically done it right. I went, great.
But do you remember, I don't know if you're old enough, Alex, but Sean probably remembers when you got your grades back in the day, because there was no technology back then.
No.
They would put up the list on the wall with your grades and rank. So you'd have to go, the essays are out, the results are out, and you'd go up to whatever department it was, philosophy or classics or English, and you'd have to go through the student numbers until you found your grade, and you could see people going down the list. That was
weeping as their finger went down.
First semester, first assignment, first semester, first year, standing outside the offices looking for your grade was horrible. Humiliating.
It is absolutely humiliating. Thank goodness we don't have to do that anymore. That's one of the advantages of living in a modern world where everything is online. Online teaching will be different for students that haven't experienced it and for teachers who haven't experienced it. Amy, perhaps we should check in again later in the year to see how you're doing. Knowing Amy and knowing how well prepared she is for all her teaching, I have absolute confidence in saying that you will very quickly overtake my shambolic efforts. So comparing notes with you would be wonderful. All the best to both of you for this semester. We're out of time now. Happy teaching.
Happy teaching. I'm looking forward to it because I've missed students all year. I've been off by myself, so I'm really looking forward to it.
And there are some wonderful first years this year. You're going to love meeting them and working with them.
Students, if you're listening, I haven't missed you so much.
He doesn't mean that. He doesn't mean that.
He really does.
I'm going to make an effort.
You'll love him anyway.
Thank you all. We'll see you all next week.
See you soon.
Take care.
Why don't you write when you don't need money? All your notes sound alike too much. All of them start with I love you, honey, but they end with the same old touch. Just for a change, send a nice loving letter and cut out that please remit. Why don't you write when you don't need money, honey? That would certainly make a hit.
How do I do record again? I always forget.
He's the one who makes albums.
I know.
I think I actually snorted last week. I was listening back to it. Like, oh my God, what have you become?
I try to take out our most embarrassing mouth noises.
Oh God, we have them.
We have them. Oh yeah, we all
We
have
like
them.
to pretend we don't have them. Sure.
No, I take them all out. I've been collecting them. So one day I'll just do a whole episode of our mouth noises.
Oh, fun. He could be an album of mouth noises.
Mouth noises really genuinely irritate me. I get quite angry when people chew near me.
Oh, that's good to know. I'll remember that. Johnny is like this too. It's called misophonia. Yeah, Johnny has it. It drives me nuts.
What is it linked to any other disorder that Johnny and I have, or is it just
your comorbidities? His whole family have it. They can't handle popcorn. People chewing popcorn in the movies. And it's just like, it's the movies.
I just have, if I go to the movies and my father is present, he just talks the whole time. Just talks. Do you recognise that actor? Oh, I think he was in Titanic. No, he wasn't.
That's not the same guy.
Oh, no. And he looks at you very seriously and goes, you're wrong about that. You're wrong.
You'll be in therapy the rest of your life going, I hear this voice in my head. You're wrong about that.
Yeah.
You're wrong about that, Alex.
You're wrong.
You're just wrong.
Okay,
right.
So shall I host this one?
Yep.
What are we talking about again? I've forgotten already.
Teaching online.
Okay, we need to do the claps.
Yes.
Oh, clapping.
Yes.
I'll go first. This is premature clap.
Yeah, I was just all ready to clap. I've never gone first. I thought, here's my moment.
You go first, Sean. Off you go.
No.
Come on, Sean.
Never gone first.
He can't.
never let
He's already
me go
jumped the gun.
first.
He can't go that quickly again.
Amy, I insist, because I would miss now if I did it.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.